What's up, Sport Optics friends and family? Thanks for joining us today here in the studio. I'm Jace, and today we are here with Thomas from Swarovski.
Jace, how are you?
Doing all right, man. How about yourself?
Doing well. Happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Very happy to have you. Very happy to talk about what we have sitting in here in front of us, something I hold near and dear to my heart, and I know you do too.
Absolutely. We'll run through our hunting line with the Z series, and I'd like to maybe highlight a few things on the turrets.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to kind of jump right into it, and I'm stoked to talk about it as well as somebody who's hunted from the time that I could safely hold a gun and somebody who has been an avid user of Swarovski optics for the last few years. I'm pretty pumped.
Well, we certainly appreciate that, and let's dive in.
So for those of you who may not know, Sport Optics is actually one of the largest retailers of Swarovski optic in North America with some of the most extensive inventory. So me and Thomas talked, and these are some of our most popular picks here at the shop, and we just kind of wanted to dive into them, talk a little bit about them, and let you guys know what makes these guys so special and such a good value for what you're getting. So to start off, we have our entry point, essentially, the Z3 1-inch tube, a 3x magnification range. This one we have specifically here in front of us is the 4 to 12 by 50, which I think is the most popular magnification range in the Z3 line for good reason.
Certainly. Yep. What's really attractive is you're getting a 50 objective bell, you're getting the Swarovski glass, and really in a great 3-time range of the 4 to 12. It allows you to get down on 4 power and maybe increase that field of view, or when it gets to low light, be able to see a little more, and also the 12 power if you need to reach out a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, some people scoff at the idea of a 1-inch tube these days. You know, the world seems to be moving towards 30 millimeter, but these guys are still absolutely fantastic. You were losing essentially nothing in a 1-inch tube while still maintaining a very sleek, light package.
Correct, and we see a lot of guys that maybe don't quite understand the 1-inch versus 30 mil. You know, if our glass quality was the same in the 1-inch as it was our 30 mils, our light transmission would be no difference. That's a misnomer that we often have to correct. It's a understandable confusion, and we'll touch a little bit about on that, as we've mentioned many times in our trainings together, is there's a trade-off for every optic. With the 1-inch lines, you know, we're saving on weight. What we may be losing a little bit is internal range of adjustment. But, you know, luckily with the way ballistics have gone, thanks to some innovative brands in that manufacturing world, that's less of an issue as far as reaching out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something just like you said, it's a very common misnomer. It's something I hear from customers almost on the daily. Oh, I get, you know, less light transmission. No, not at all. That is going to come from the glass itself, and then, you know, even less so the size of the objective lens itself.
Yep.
So, and then from the Z3, we have a little bit of a jump into the Z5 line, which is going to have a slightly larger magnification range. You're looking at a 5 times versus a 3 times. And then if I'm not mistaken, these also have a slightly beefier erector system, right?
Correct. Yep. We jumped into our 4-coil system. You know, most customers, that's not going to be a make or break scenario, but it is a little bit more of a robust system over the leaf spring system in the Z3. You know, as we continue to make new products, Swarovski's mantra is to constantly improve on what's good. That was certainly part of this.
Yeah, absolutely. So for my guys that call looking to scope a heavier caliber rifle like a 300 Win Mag or something comparable, a lot of them have the question, hey, can a 1-inch tube scope handle that? And short answer is absolutely. With the Z5, with the system that they've put in place on the internals, it's going to have no problem doing just fine on those heavier recoiling rifles.
Highlight just a little bit too on this Z5i. This is actually a newer release than originally with the entire Z5 line. It's a 2.4 to 12 by 50. What that tells me, especially being a Midwestern hunter, is I now can go, you know, below 3 or 4 power, which isn't all that seen in many lines for those low light scenarios, increase my field of view. And also, since this individual scope, the 2.4 came out a little bit after the original series, you're going to see a little bit brighter glass in this particular scope over the other 1 inches. Yeah, Jace, definitely glad to see this one come out of the box. You know, it's great to see that we share a lot of the same favorites throughout the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of the same page, I'll take it a step further. This is actually the scope that I have on my personal rifle that I've had for probably the longest time. And unfortunately, my wife has kind of adopted it for herself at this point, and we've both taken quite a lot of whitetail with it very successfully.
Well, I mean, the other side of that is it lets you improve your next scope.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And just something else to touch on the Z5 is compared to the Z3, you also have some higher magnification options. The Z3, the highest power available is this 4-12, correct. And then the Z5, you have the option for a 3.5 to 18 and even a 5 to 25.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool. And I think that'll kind of about wrap us up on the 1-inch series of Swarovski scopes. And now we're going to talk about the 30 mil versions. So now that we've talked about some of the 1-inch options, we are going to jump into what may very well be considered to be some of the best scopes in existence on the market today.
Correct.
Yeah, and that is none other than the tried and true Z6 and Z8i. So to start off, we've got the Z6i here. This is specifically the 3 to 18 by 50, which in my opinion is one of the best magnification ranges in this line. It's very versatile. I actually have one of these as well that I use personally.
This is the exact scope I have on my own rifle. So, yep, I agree with you. And I would say throughout other brands, the 3 to 18 is also going to be very popular. So it's just a comfortable range on the low end as well as the high end if you need to get in on something. And then obviously the Z8, which is our king.
Yeah.
Top of the line optics. As you can kind of see in the pattern, Z3, Zoom 3, 5, 6. Well, now we're in the 8x zoom world, right? Couple benefits you'd like to share on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So in these guys, we are moving into a 30 millimeter tube, which is essentially going to give you more adjustment. You still have a very robust erector system and internals in these guys. So heavy calibers of the sort, it's gonna handle it just fine. You also step into a higher grade of glass in these guys as well, right?
Correct. It sometimes gets a little confusing when I'm doing my trainings because, our 30 mil glass is a little bit sharper, cleaner, and brighter than our 1-inch stuff. But as we have spoken in the past, it's not because of the tube diameter, right? So that, and within a 30 mil tube, right? We're still able to keep these scopes very, very light, even at a 30 mil tube. So people that are going on pack hunts, sometimes they maybe lean towards the 1-inch for weight. But I always tell them, check that spec sheet. Just because it says 30 millimeters doesn't mean that thing's going to be that heavy. So it allows them to, get the best glass in the world in a 30 mil tube and still not have to pack in an absolute anchor on your shoulder.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as weight goes, all these guys in their class are going to be some of the lightest options on the market, period, no doubt about it. And then another thing you'll notice on this Z6 that was also on the Z5 and Z3 that we talked about previously is this ballistic turret right here. It's a pretty cool system, essentially a simplified version of your standard exposed elevation turret, right?
It's referred to as a ballistic turret. In usage, I like to think of it as a hunting turret just because of simplicity. Now, anytime you're in a hunting scenario, and I'm not laying down, prone on the range where I can, count or look at my dope chart, count my clicks. A lot of times I got to make that shot quick. Well, what this ballistic turret system does is allows us to preset our 0 as well as 3 different other yardages. And whenever I range that animal, let's say I've got that feeder at 200, I can turn to that thing and not have to hold over, not have to think a thing, pull the trigger. Everyone's more confident with the center reticle on the center of the chest. And this is a very simplified option to, make that shot.
Yeah, absolutely. I've used it myself plenty of times in the field. It's always worked exactly as intended. It's a very, get good in, get good out type of system. You use Swarovski's ballistic calculator on y'all's website, put in all your data, and it's going to tell you exactly how you need to set that up, and it's going to be spot on.
Yep.
Cool.
Would you mind also telling viewers about the difference between the ballistic turret system within the Z6 and the Z8?
Yeah, absolutely. So jumping into the ballistic turret system, Swarovski has taken it a step further on the Z8i and made it even a little more versatile. First, you have the option for an additional preset 0 as well as a locking turret. And that would be this guy over here in case y'all were wondering what that was for. Simply take it out the box. There's a little dot on here that you will line up with a dot on the scope itself. It pushes right down. this little knob here will turn to lock. And you're essentially, obviously you would set this up with your particular data, but that's more or less the ease of how this guy goes on. And then you decide you don't need to use it, don't want it, whatever. You unlock it, you can pop it off. Thank you very much. Yep. And bam, you are back to your standard cap turret, ready to rock.
Yep, and to continue on that, you know, it is a little more versatile than our regular BT system. For those unfamiliar, the 1-inch scopes are going to be in MOA 1/4-inch clicks, and we go into 10th mil clicks on the Z6 and Z8. So preset with this, for you guys that know your dope and dial, it's going to come with a 7 mil turret. But if we want to follow suit on our Z3, Z5, Z6 line, we have the ability to unscrew this, and we'll go ahead and plug and play. I always like to set it to lock so it makes it easy, a little easier to torque off the top. I'll pull her off right there. As you can see, we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 2 that were essentially dots that will allow the customer to kind of choose, right? And we have some cards involved as well, that you'll be able to note what symbol means what. Okay. So we would be able to go into our app at this point, say we're shooting a 308, pick your flavor, and we know we've got a feeder at 200. It's going to tell us in the app we need to make our adjustments 5 clicks or so. We're going to set our 200 down, and maybe a feeder at 3 or 350. You can use the dots for some of those in-betweens and have that preset. So whenever you range that animal, turn to your number, turn to your dot, shoot.
Guys, don't let this turret system scare you. I know it sounds like a lot, but it's actually very user-friendly. Swarovski's website does a fantastic job of telling you each step that you need to do to get this guy set up, as well as you could call customer support if you needed to.
Absolutely. We got a full staff in there, all very well trained on setting up, whether it's you know, just your basic turret system, or you want to make that leap into getting a custom turret system. Let's say you went out and shot and found that particular load that gun likes, and you made sure to order an extra 20, 40 bullets. Go ahead and order a custom turret, and you'll be able to just turn to, whether it be 25-yard, 50-yard increments, directly to the yardage that you ranged, and take a clean, ethical, and confident shot.
What a scope this guy is right here. And just another benefit of this guy, having that 8x zoom ratio, you have quite a large array of options depending on personal preference and exactly how you're going to be using the scope, and to find a magnification that's going to fit your preference for what you're doing. This one specifically is one of the 3.5 to 28s, which is one of the largest and best, essentially, magnification ranges available in a scope, period.
Yeah, absolutely. Lets you get down and go all the way up if you really need to reach out and touch something.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that pretty much wraps us up on the Swarovski line of scopes. Again, guys, whether it be for hunting here in the southeast, whether it be for taking it out west, up in the northeast, in any environment or situation you can think of, Swarovski makes a scope that can suit your needs.
Yep, absolutely. Jace, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you so much for being here as well. It's always a great time to have you down, not only just to talk about this stuff, but just to hang out, and it's always a good time, right?
Yep.
So you guys, if y'all have any questions, comments, concerns about anything that me and Thomas have talked about today, if you have any interest in any of this or any of the wide variety of Swarovski optic products that we offer here at Sport Optics, please make sure to let us know. I will talk about this stuff ad nauseum with you, I promise. So in the meantime, make sure to like, share, subscribe. All that stuff helps us out a ton. And we'll see you in the next one. God bless.
Take care.